Hi, Paula. Could we have a word at some point today to discuss this, and specifically how far we go in terms of the wording below? I'm sending this just to you at this stage. I'm very concerned that we may get to a position where we go so far in our commitments that we actually fuel the story and turn it into something bigger than it is. I'm not at all complacent about the issues, but there is a real danger in going too far in commitments about past cases. This is for two reasons. First, the substance of the report doesn't justify this response. Indeed, the response is at such a level that our current media strategy would mean there would be some coverage, but not very much. If we say publicly that we'll look at past cases, whether from recent history or going further back, we will open this up very significantly into front page news. In media terms, it becomes mainstream, very high profile. It would also give James Arbuthnot a very strong case for asking for a parliamentary statement from Biz. My second concern is the impact this would have more broadly. It would have the ballistic impact which AB fears. It would lead to a very public narrative about the very nature of the business, raising questions about Horizon. The reality of what Second Sight has found would be misunderstood, and having an impact on public views about the Post Office and really widening the issue to the whole network. Do you agree that Mr. Davis is here giving you personal advice on the extent to which past convictions are reviewed on the basis of the extent of the media coverage that each decision might generate?
My understanding at the time was that he, and I think the Post Office generally, and we've seen similar comments from the chairman as well, believed we were dealing with a small number of cases, and the numbers that were coming forward seemed to, at that stage, clearly more came later, seemed to indicate that was the case. And the inquiry heard from Mark Davis last week, I think, where he explained, and that was my understanding at the time, that what he was trying to do was to minimize misinterpretation. It was wrong, because clearly if all past cases needed investigating, they needed investigating. But at the time, that wasn't what the Post Office thought. And I think what he was trying to do here was to, as I say, to minimize misinterpretation and exaggeration in the media.
Do you agree that his first point says you should make a decision about the extent to which you review possible past miscarriages of justice by reference to the extent of media coverage that it will generate?
It does say, it could be read that way. That wasn't my...
Is there another way of reading it?
That I wouldn't have...
And if there is, please explain which words help to read it in a different way. He's saying don't go back 10 years, or say that you'll go back 10 years. Our current approach would mean there's going to be some coverage, but not very much, the usual suspects. If we say we'll look back at past cases, we'll be on the front page. Isn't he directly saying?
Yes, I can see that that's what he's saying, but my mindset at the time when I received this is that we were working on specific cases that were coming forwards, and we opened up...
No, hold on, Ms. Vennells. The email that you had sent, to which this is a response, posits, Should we look back 12 to 18
Yes,
months
yes,
since separation?
yes.
Or should we go back further?
Further,
Why aren't
yeah.
we going back
Yeah.
further, 5 to 10
Yeah.
years? And this says, you can't do that. You'll be on the front page. That's a grossly improper perspective, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Do you know why he cut everyone else out of the chain and replied directly to you?
No, I don't.
Was he a very trusted advisor?
He was trusted by all of the team. As I said yesterday, I trusted all of the team, none of them more than the others.
Did you remain in contact with Mr. Davis after you left Post Office?
I did.
Did you exchange messages with him about media statements that you might make and the media lines that you might take in the announcement of this inquiry, for example?
I believe the inquiry has texts that show that.
Even though you'd moved on, he was still advising you into 2020 as the lines to take in your media statements.
I had kept in touch with Mr. Davis for reasons that were very personal to him, and I think he offered that advice at the time.
To what extent did what Mr. Davis advised here affect your decision-making?
I would never, it was simply not the way I worked, have taken a decision based on the advice of one colleague. Never. My way of working was to take as many different views as I possibly could and to involve those individuals in the decision-making as much as I possibly could.
Can we look at the top of page 1, please? Your reply. Mark, thanks for this. I don't think we're too far apart. I didn't say this approach would be our media statement, but they'd need to be aligned. You're right to call this out. I will take your steer. You did take the advice of the PR guy, didn't you?
I really don't remember it relating to the decision.
Hang on now, please. Thank you.
As I tried to say before, what we were working to at this stage was numbers of cases going through a scheme, and a scheme that was going to be opened up to anybody who wanted to come forwards. I understand how this reads, but I don't recall making any conscious decision not to go back and put in place a review of all past criminal cases. My conviction as we were going forwards in this was that this scheme would enable any case any postmaster that wanted their case to be reviewed, that the scheme would allow for that.
You continue. There are two objectives. The most urgent being to manage the media. The second is to make sure we do address the concerns of James Arbuthnot and Alan Bates, mainly looking forwards. But we should be aware of Alan Bates' driver is really justice for the past. Otherwise, they will call for reopening cases.
Yes.
It may be that we get to manage Alan Bates and James Arbuthnot by playing on the go ballistic view, i.e. I'll meet him privately to hear his views about these cases, but we cannot refer to anything in relation to past convictions. Any challenge must go via normal legal routes. Is that the way your mind worked at this time? The priority was to manage the media and then deal with the actual substance of issues?
The media issue related to, I believe, because we were right on the day or the day before the release of the Second Sight interim report. And that's my recollection, that is the media conversation that we were having.
But what we're talking about here is how far back a review of possible miscarriages of justice should go.
Yes, and I'm not
You
closing that down at all.
You say there are two objectives, the most urgent being to manage the media.
I'm pretty sure that was in relation to the interim report, which was due out any time, which, as the inquiry has seen and heard from other people, there were issues in that report which the Post Office disagreed with and the team felt Second Sight hadn't taken account of. That, I think, was the issue that we were talking. So this was a really urgent today or tomorrow issue. And then there was the concerns looking forwards.
No, what you're saying here is you're right, Mark. We will put the past behind us. We won't look at past cases. We'll focus on the future.
That isn't what happened. That simply isn't the case, because the scheme was open to past cases. There was no time limit.
The burden was put on the subpostmaster to prove their case, wasn't it?
The scheme was open to any postmaster who wanted to bring their case forwards. It was advertised in various ways to encourage people to come forwards. There were other conversations going on at the same time as this exchange with colleagues, and it was very clear that any cases that included criminal convictions would need to go through the Court of Appeal and the normal legal routes. I don't think I understood any more about the legal side of things to have got involved in anything more complex than that. I believed very sincerely that the scheme we were putting in place would help.
Do you accept that this exchange of emails shows that in making decisions as to the substance as to what the Post Office should do, i.e. whether it itself should seek to review whether there had been past miscarriages of justice, you took into account the views of your media advisor as to the extent to which your decision would meet with front page news?
I do not recall that being... I see what is written here. There were other conversations going on at the same time. The highlighted paragraph isn't as clear as what you're saying. I do not think... And I would not have taken, personally, any decision on review of historic cases. That was not my role. I wasn't qualified or competent to do that. I did not take that decision. What I was trying to do at this stage was to find a way forwards through the cases that had come into the Post Office, and to encourage more to come forwards, which would have enabled any case to go through normal legal routes if the Post Office couldn't help it. No, I absolutely don't accept that I took a decision to not review past criminal cases based on a media outcome. I didn't take any decision on that. I wouldn't have been able to do so. And it would have been such an important decision that would have had to have gone to the board.